I would like to go actually into what is my sphere, which is the legal one. I don't want to go too deep into the legal vocabulary, but I would like to bring up some things that I have noticed still related to whatever went on during these past weeks. I would like to start with the amendments as an outsider. Okay, I have heard about three amendments. Okay, three amendments spoken during these past weeks on media. Back in the days when I was in high school, we studied, like I said earlier, we always had this bad habit of studying other countries. So we studied the Bill of Rights. And while doing my research at the university for my thesis on criminal psychology, I had to go through some amendments of the Bill of Rights, when it came to refuting some judgment cases. And I was really interested when they started talking about the amendments on the 1st of June, in the news, the First Amendment. For those who are not from United States, a little bit as I am, I'm not from United States. But it is always good to read, isn't it? So, the First Amendment. What I've learned is that the First Amendment is the freedom of speech, of religion, of assembly, let's say, of peacefully assembly, which was the case on the 1st of June. The First Amendment is the right of the press. I guess by saying that is the right of the press, I guess it's the freedom of the speech of maybe the press. And it is the freedom to petition. Yes. I'll post some links, in my description section. For those who like to do some little reading, of course, most of them might be legal, but nothing complex. Okay, that's why I went to, let's say, normal links, normal websites. Because as a jurist, I like to compare. Okay, I don't just talk on one thing. It's good to compare the views and to even compare the articles, because throughout the years they might be reviewed, they might be changed, they might be renewed. So you need to check again, because everything is based on the context. Okay, an article that have been applied a few years ago might not be valid today, until we are still unless, let's say, although we are still working or running under the same article, but depending on the context, it might be different in the understanding and the application of the law. So, the First Amendment in United States is the freedom of speech, of the press, of peaceful assembling, is the freedom of petition, is the freedom of religion. That's the First Amendment. We saw what happened. People were peacefully assembling, and they were, counteracted by military. And the Second Amendment, I have learned, I read about the Second Amendment because your president made a speech urging his people, to activate their Second Amendment. And I read that the Second Amendment is actually the right to bear arms. That is, for example, if you feel like your security has been infringed, that you are under a dangerous attack or whatever, you are free, you have the right to use guns. I wonder what will happen if this Second Amendment was being played out in Tulsa during his rally. I mean, by the people of Tulsa, not by his base, but anyway. I think that even the racist John Wayne will not, he will come back from the dead to defend. Anyway, I'm digressing. Okay, so this was the Second Amendment, yes, the right to bear arms. What actually was more interesting for me, it was the 25th Amendment. That one was quite interesting and it was quite a good read because it was, I would say that it's kind of a new law. Not so new, but hello, it was not made at the moment when he didn't come with the original constitution. So the 25th Amendment actually said that clarifies that the vice president becomes president as opposed to acting president. If the president dies, resigns, or is removed from office, that would be a good laugh. And establishes, so the 25th Amendment establishes procedures for filing a vacancy in the office of the vice president and for responding to presidential disabilities. Okay, guys. For what I have understood, the 25th Amendment actually talks about a case of removal or of death or of resignation or of inability of your president. Yes, it means that if he is found unable as a president to act, if he resigns, if he dies, if he is removed, then he can be replaced by the vice president. Oh, okay. Sorry. When I think about your vice president, it is Mike Pence, right? Do you have a vice president? That guy is weird. Sorry. Yes, that is the 25th Amendment. Why did I find it interesting is because that specific amendment came after the death of, not death, but after the assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Not right away, of course, but it was aftermath, okay? Which means that when he died, he was replaced by his vice president, Lincoln Johnson. I've never swallowed that guy until I knew what he did, but okay. He was replaced by Lyndon Johnson, something like that, his vice president. And as, who became, president. And then, when the vice president is promoted to the presidency, he has his own post vacant. So you need to find someone who will come and fill in that vacant post of vice president. And in those days, the Congress, the houses, that is, when I say the houses, in the United States, they have two houses. You have the House of Judiciary and the House of Representative. I'm trying to dig in my, we studied this still when I was in high school. Cameroonian system needs to change. We learn about everybody. So, when the president died, when the president was assassinated, when Kennedy was assassinated, the Congress found itself in a situation that, wow, so what do we do now? We don't have a replacement, we don't have a law which will be applied right away. Why did they start thinking about that? Is because the Vice President Johnson was coming from a family which was, I don't know how to put that, which was known to be subjected to heart attack. Men in the Lincoln family was used to, let's say, used to die from heart attack after, at the age of 60. And yes, Johnson died when he was 64 from heart attack. So they started thinking, in advance. When he became president, we were just like, gosh, that guy, he can also he can also leave us, and that's it. And then they gathered, they tried to find, proposals, and they had two proposals. I know that they rejected one because it was exposing, I think it was exposing the power, or it was handing the power to only one person, and that person could infringe it without any repercussion. Please let me know. Maybe you can clarify this. And then they took another proposal, and it's only when the House of the Representative and the House of the Judiciary Committee agreed upon that particular amendment that it was signed and sent to the Senate for ratification. I don't even remember if the Senate ratified laws in US. Anyway, they agreed on that amendment. That's what I can say. So the 25th Amendment came to effect in 1965. That was 3 years after the assassination of John Kennedy. Sometimes I mix the death of Marilyn Monroe and the death of John Kennedy. I think one died in 62, another one in 63. Anyway, I'm digressing, sorry. So, yeah. Okay, so the 25th Amendment speaks not only of the president, yes, but it also speaks of the vice president declaration and the vacancy. So when the vice president moves to presidency, who will refill his post? And the 25th Amendment is divided into 4 sections, and each section clarifies exactly the position of a presidential declaration, a vice presidential vacancy, and so on and so forth. It is well documented. So, guys, let me know, okay, if you have read it, and if you can educate me on this, please. It will be welcome. It will be welcome. Yeah, I feel like, yes, my brain is kind of, getting better, because every talk that I'm doing now, this ate my brain for the last 3 weeks. And yes, going on this on the legal part, the Constitution, for what I understand, okay, of course, maybe I'm moving back to the political science thing. I know that there is a separation of power. That one I learned in high school, that United States has a separation of powers. So you have the executive, you have the judiciary, you have the legislative. Yes. And I'm just like, wow, when I see how it is playing out, it is being played out in US, I'm just like, gosh, don't they know anything about the separation of powers? Because if I pay attention, what am I even saying if I pay attention? Of course that I try to pay attention. I mean, what I mean is that what your president did is that when he came after isolating US, he started attacking the judiciary. Yes, he replaced most of the judges and the justices by with his own people. And you can see that now the attorney general, who is actually there to represent the people, is actually has turned out to be the private lawyer of your president, which is completely unconstitutional. When we talk about separation of powers, it is what it is. It is what, as you hear, it means that each branch of the government has its own sovereignty. Each branch should not conflict with one another. You are not, I don't know, I forgot the word. Answerable, if I can put it that way, okay? The judiciary is not answerable to the legislative, which is not answerable to the executive, or let's say that the executive. No, if I say that the executive is not answerable, it means that whatever your president is doing, he doesn't care. He's not answerable. No, he's answerable. He's answerable to the Constitution. And I wonder what your Congress, which has voted for the 25th Amendment, oh, by the way, talking about voted, almost all states in the United States signed that 25th Amendment. Only 3 didn't sign. Georgia, I wonder, am I surprised? I've heard so many things going on wrong in Georgia recently. They have never signed the 25th Amendment, which promotes the removal of a president in case he is judged or is deemed unable to accomplish his duties. South Carolina has not signed the treaty, and I think North Dakota. Those three states have never signed the 25th Amendment. Please let me know, where are they now? I mean, are they part of the MAGA group? Thank you for letting me know, for educating me on this. What else? What can I say? Talking about the legal part, yes. I would like to end, still legally speaking, with the case 0 which brought us all here. So on the 25th of May of this year, Mr. George Floyd went to a shop to buy a pack of cigarettes. And the shopkeeper called the police saying that Mr. Floyd handed the $20 banknote and that it was obvious that it was fake, but that Mr. Floyd did not want to give the pack of cigarettes back. I was just like, gosh. Black people are being killed in US for nothing. A 14-year-old boy who is being killed, who was assassinated because he whistled. Another one was assassinated just by walking on the pedestrian way with his brother or cousin. This was an old case, sorry guys. I've read so many senseless killing cases these weeks that I'm just like, 2 young boys. One was killed by, I think, 2 brothers in the south. One of the boy gave his gun to his I don't know what, accomplice. I mean, and the guy was playing with the gun, and one of them saw 2 black boys passing by, and he said, try the gun. And the guy shot one of the boy on the chest, I think it was on the chest and in the stomach, I don't remember. Because you are passing by. I'm not even talking about Miss Breonna Taylor. They went to her house. They entered, they killed her in her bed. And then they were just like, oh, we were actually sent to the wrong address. But before they left, they put drugs all over the place to justify that, oh no, she was taking drugs. If you are not even safe in your own house, I mean, you have so many cases. The common denominator, there are several. And what actually hit me is not just that, it's not only that they are blacks, or it's not only that they were blacks. You see, in my mind, they are still not dead. It's not that they were blacks, but it's that they were also young. I was just like, gosh, are they killing young America? I mean, that's just something that passed just like this. I was just like, oh, from a 7-year-old little girl going through the teenagers, the mid-20s, the millennial. I don't know. I think that Mr. Flaw was even the oldest at 46. At 46, living 3 children and 2 granddaughters. So he was even a grandfather. Now, I don't know if it was 3 children or 5. Please, I would like you guys to check that, because now he is on Wikipedia. He is on Wikipedia, and there they say that he had 5 children. I was wondering because I came across pictures on Instagram where his elder daughter was there, his son was there, the 2 granddaughters were there. We talk also about his 6-year-old girl. Maybe if he had 5 children and 2 granddaughters, please let me know. I'm sorry if I sound disrespectful by not knowing the number of his children, but I'm only focusing on the facts. And the facts here is that a man lost his life because he did not want to give back a pack of cigarettes. Wow. All those cases must be reopened. United States needs to address his racism issues. If not, you will never go anywhere. And the anger and the actions and reactions of people will be worse than what you are experiencing now. You cannot remain the status quo for life. There is always a change. History is always evolving. Now it's up to you guys to choose whether you want to evolve, which means bringing on the table that ugly topic, or you want to remain backward for 500 years backward, with the consequence of one day receiving not the forgiveness but the revenge of people. You must address this. This is not the time for the need or should or could. It is a must. But hey, history will tell. Going on with this legal case, I will put the different links of some readings that I've done, maybe not only that I've done, but what can easily explain what I'm trying to say, maybe. No. Even the Wikipedia profile of Mr. Floyd link, I will also put it there. Now, legally speaking, I would like to talk about the the action that took place. Because the facts we know, okay, what led to his arrest, but what actually took place. First, many people do not understand what is the chokehold. Sometimes, mostly when you refer to social media, you will see that, okay, a Chauvin, because for me he's not an officer, he disgraced the plaque that he carries, so for me he's not an officer. So Chauvin put his neck on the windpipe, and I was just like, the windpipe? You know, it might be part of American English thing, but unless you tell me neck, throat, I won't really pinpoint exactly what you mean by that. So for those who are not familiar to this type of term like windpipe, Chauvin, who was a law enforcement authority, put his knee on the neck of Mr. Floyd while the latter was handcuffed. He was handcuffed. His chest on the ground. For those who watched the video, sincerely speaking, I watched the beginning, I watched the end. I didn't have the nerves to watch the agony, to preserve my mental state, and to be rational when I'm talking about this topic. If I was an acting, because I'm not practicing law anymore, but if I was an acting judge, I would still not have gone, maybe just for the purpose of proof. I would have, braced myself, and I would have lived those 8 minutes and 56 seconds. So, as an acting judge, yes, I would have done my duty, okay? I would have watched this with the chrono by the side. Why? Not for the pleasure of seeing his agony, but in case anything during this murder came out, okay? But as a simple citizen, I have watched the beginning and the end of it, and it was enough to mess with my nerves for the past 3 weeks. There are so many ways to do a chokehold. I will place a link so that you can go and check, okay, the different type of chokehold. Let's assume, yes, that, okay, Mr. Floyd was taller, but he was surrounded by 4 officers. And until someone brings me the contrary, he didn't have any certificate in martial arts, although he was a security guy. But we all watched the footage. There was no sign of any violence from him. He was a grown-up man. He was not a youngster. So he was not the subject or victim of his adrenaline, and no, he was not there. He complied from the beginning and unfortunately till the end. So I checked. At this point, I was thinking in a legal way, okay? I was just like, okay, how long should a chokehold be to be effective? Whether, I mean, in case the person is violent, I'm not talking here about Mr. Floyd, I'm talking about any person who, according to, okay, the police or the enforcement officer will say that the person was violent. I was just like, if a person is violent, how long should a chokehold take to be effective? I went to, I think it was ProMedLine. ProMedLine, it's a medical website. And I found that out an effective chokehold is between 10 and 20 seconds to make a person lose unconscious, I mean, to lose conscience, okay? For a person to be unconscious or to provoke unconsciousness from a violent person, you need 10 to 20 seconds for an effective chokehold. So from 10 to 20 seconds is effective. Mr. Floyd was subjected to 8 minutes and 56 or 57 seconds. We are talking here about minutes. At this point, you know, on that medical website, it was promed.org, I guess. I unfortunately did not put the link here, but the link that I have found explaining the different type of code, it's policemark.com, but I've put the link, okay? You just check. I wondered, I was just like, gosh. It is said on that website that injury or death is plausible if the arteries, okay, the arteries remain constricted for more than 20 seconds. This, I think, that should be taught during police enforcement training, I guess. Someone posted a wonderful question on Instagram saying, why is it that to end racism is a debate? Why is it that ending racism is a debate? It will be the end of the world for some, I guess. I don't know if it was Mrs. Tony Robinson. I don't remember. She said, what are you without your racism? I think I came across a defense saying that Mr. Floyd was excited delirium. I was just like, what? And of course, people were rightfully outraged because excited delirium is usually caused by a mental disorder. I am still waiting for a medical file of Mr. Floyd by maybe psychiatrists showing that he suffered, that, you know, he had a mental disorder or something like this. I mean, I understand that people will throw anything on the road to save their own, but hey, when will you stop thinking that people who do not look like you are dumber than you, how you are, who you are, or whatever, as you are, or more dumber than you are? Okay, what makes you think that? So, like I told you, excited delirium will not even run any case. It will not even last a minute as a defense. Also, My suggestion should be to, yes, to teach to law enforcement officers how and when to apply the chokehold, to really teach them that. I can't even imagine those two officers who were there and who just started working 4 days before in the law enforcement as a, I mean, as law enforcement officers, really. Just 4 days into the job and you didn't know that you could intervene. I read many people saying, why does it take so long? And on the case, a black or mixed guy who came out to say that that they were able to bring the charges of Chauvin from third-degree murder to second-degree murder. That one I will also explain, okay, because this is just a bunch of BS. So he also said that they were still gathering evidences, and people were just like, what? We had a video, okay? Everybody around the world watched the same video, so what are you looking? Okay, so guys, even if there is a video, of course there are some legal procedure to follow. Okay, usually in this type of case you need an eyewitness testimony. We had this 17-year-old woman, girl, lady, who filmed the murder through the lens of her mobile phone, and there were other people, passerby. I don't know if those other pedestrians were interviewed. We need to know if they were interviewed, and even before they were interviewed, we need to make sure that they have not received any threat from any those anonymous calls. Yes, that usually that if you speak whatever you want, you will lose your job or you won't see another day. We are here out there fighting for justice, so I don't really. Okay, someone died, so the least, if you were there, you did not intervene, the least that you can do is at least to testify, and will not, and you must not be afraid of whatever a phone call will tell you to say or not to say. Someone died. So in this case, you need eyewitness. We have a video, yes. We need eyewitness because it's the procedure. We need findings. Okay, we need findings during the post-mortem examinations, that is the autopsy. Okay, we need to, that's what I think they did it. They need a post-mortem examination, and it came out that Mr. Floyd died from a pressure on his chest and his lungs, and he couldn't breathe, and then the blood went on his to his head, and yes. So this will join, okay, the files of the case. Okay, so the eyewitness, the woman was interviewed. The autopsy was done. Of course, I think the autopsy was done, a separate autopsy was requested by the family. It's now that I remember, gosh, the autopsy is separate, an independent autopsy was made by the family. I wonder what was the findings of the first autopsy. Maybe, guys, if you know the results of the first autopsy, please let me know. I know only about the results of the independent autopsy requested by the family of Mr. Floyd. And because it is those results were made public, in the legally speaking, it cannot be ignored. And that's good that they did an independent inquiry, an independent autopsy. That's very good. Because if the original one compared to the second one, until now we don't know. Unless we know, and I didn't come across the information, but no one here, you understand what I mean, knows what were the results of the first autopsy. Because if the result of the first autopsy came different from the result of the independent autopsy requested by the family, this will not end well. If it was different, if the first autopsy was different so as to minimize, the killing and so as to minimize the result of the autopsy and to free those men, those killers, this will not end well. So the legal system needs to weigh on the results made by the independent. Of course, in those type of cases, usually what we see is that the sides of the killer will try to check even the backgrounds of the medical forensic expert who did the autopsy and all the and all the thing. Okay, they will try their best. Okay, they will try their best to minimize the the sentences. So, like I was saying, we need an eyewitness. We had one, at least. I don't know about the passerby. We need to check that one. And I think a call was even made from the legal staff, the legal part of Mr. Floyd family, yes, to call for more witnesses. And people were just like, but you already have the video. It's not always enough, but we should not, play with the chances that we have. If you were a witness, a passerby, and you can give your own, don't say that no, everything that you watch on the video was already that one. No, if you have your own voice, you were there, you saw, please report to the lawyer's family. It will be added, okay? It will be added to the files. It is never enough. So the findings during the post-mortem examination we also need the clinical history of Mr. Floyd. Did he have any any heart problems? Did he have any mental disorder? Was he subjected to drugs? Recently, that's the key word, recently. Did he take any drug recently? Was he allergic to, in this case, of course, it was not used pepper spray, but it wasn't used. No one saw it on the video, or I didn't see it on the video. That this, this is part of the clinical, the clinical history. So the what we need. When I say what we need, of course, sorry, I think as a judge, sorry, but you got my point, okay? So what we need is his toxicology data. Okay, this is part of the the drug thing and all this thing. Because the clinical part is, did he have any problem with insufficient breathing? Naturally, okay, not the one that was imposed on him the day he was murdered. No. Heart problems and these things. These are part of the clinical history. Toxicology data, we need it, and we need other official documents. That is describing the events surrounding the death. Everything actually must be analyzed. When I talk about official documents, it's like, for example, when they will interview the eyewitness or any eyewitness, they will document the testimony of the eyewitness. Okay, they will document everything, and during that testimony they need also to know if that eyewitness or those eyewitnesses could see Mr. Floyd on the floor, on the ground. How was he positioned? What was the method applied to keep him on the ground? What could they see from their own angle? So there are things that will be considered. Although the video was striking enough, but if we want this to be waived, if we want these people, okay, to spend at least 40 years in prison, because I don't like the verdict, that I don't like what I see already, that by second degree murder, he will be sentenced to up to 40 years. I do not like this. The up to 40 years, it should be from 40 years up to death. That is my point of view, okay? It's not being emotional, it's being practical and objective. That's why I mean, you know, dealing with criminal cases is not as easy as you think. There are many things that you have to take into consideration. It's not just, oh, I saw this, so this should be the result of it. It doesn't work like that. Because if it just had to work like this will turn to be an emotional trial more than a legal, or more than a trial based on the rule of law. And so it is painful to know that we will have to wait, but it is also necessary for the legal team of Mr. Floyd to gather everything. Of course, whatever I'm saying now, I can say that I am against the second degree murder charge. I will tell you why. Okay, I will tell you why. So, I have already told you what, as a judge, and that's what I will look at first. Okay, these are things that I will study. So, why am I against the second degree murder? Remember, I told you at first about the chokehold. To have, please keep it in mind, to have an efficient chokehold, you should apply it for from 10 seconds to 20 seconds. More than this, you have your arteries, okay, being restrained, contrived, and actually after 45 seconds, you already, we are already heading, let's say, over to death. I will explain that, only that little part. I will explain it slightly. When you watch movie, this is not a movie, but I just want to explain it to those who cannot really picture it out. You see, sometimes in movies, you have someone, not someone. When you see in action movies, when the hero of the movie, okay, when he want to neutralize, okay, the enemy, okay, when he's on side, okay, what does he do? Okay, I'm not talking about, okay, cracking the neck. I'm not talking about cracking the neck of the person. No, what does he do? He choke the person, okay, for until the person just lose, and then he remove it. If you count, it is not even 20 seconds. But the normal chokehold, why? Because when you are still there after 20 seconds, it means that your intention, this is also a key word, your intention is not just to neutralize the person. It's not just to make the person unconscious. When you are there for 1 minute, it means that you have the intention to kill the person. Nothing more, nothing less. Let's go there, okay? I just showed you one chokehold. We saw another chokehold on Mr. Floyd video. It's also another type of neck chokehold with the knee. Okay, bear with me. Why am I against the second degree charge? I will tell you. I will just use definitions and try to follow me, please. A first degree murder, in all laws around the world, a first degree murder is a murder which is premeditated. Okay, I will use another word. Sorry, like I told you, sometimes I use legal vocabulary. I do apologize. By premeditated, I meant that planned. Okay, so first degree murder is a murder that you have planned. Okay, you have planned it because your intention is to kill at the end. All right. Of course, under British law, we used to call it murder with aforethought malice. Okay, it was murder with malice aforethought. This was what, that is how I learned it under British law. Murder with malice aforethought. Aforethought means that something that you have something that you have thought in advance. Okay, so if you think about something in advance, okay, and then you proceed, okay, to complete that thing, it becomes planned with the intention of accomplishing it, with the intention of completing it. So the intention is always there. That is the first degree murder. The second degree murder, okay, it is intentional, but here the intention, but here the difference is that although the second degree murder is intentional, it can be impulsive. It means that you didn't plan it. Okay? You didn't plan it. It just happened. Okay? You had the intention to harm, maybe not to kill. That one becomes disputable in court. Okay? But at the end, okay, that is, you didn't plan it. You didn't sit there and plan it for days and whatever. Okay? And then, voila, it just happened. Okay? And in this particular case, when we talk about the second degree murder, the key word here becomes mens rea. I mean, this is the mental state of the person at the moment that she's committing the crime, or it's a crime. At the moment that the person is committing the crime, we will ask, what was the state of mind of that person at that specific moment? Did that person have the intention to kill? No. But what happened? The person, okay, I will give you an example. A man comes to the house and find his wife with her lover in the bed. Okay? He comes back from work, he found his lover. He opened the first shelves. There is the gun there. He just he kills the wife and he kills the lover. This is impulsive. Okay? But this, in law we said, at the point people even wanted to say that it was wanted to call it how can I put that? They wanted to call it defense. So something that shocked you so much, okay, the pain made you, blinded you, and then, okay, as a revenge you just took the gun and you shot. Okay, it was not planned, it was not, okay, it wasn't intentional, it wasn't planned, it wasn't intentional, but the pain blinded you and you killed. At this point, people will call it, okay, modern law, they will say, no, this was not intentional, but it happened, okay, and it happened because you had an impulsive act, okay, to relieve yourself from the pain, so you killed. Okay, so this will be second degree murder. Okay, so under another type of law, it is also called reckless disregard. Yes, a reckless disregard. That I have never really liked this second degree murder, because under that one came other ways to explain or to defend the idea that someone, okay, would kill just out of maybe pain or just out of offense, or let's say in an impulsive way. Okay, so they try to find other meanings. Okay, the legislator trying to find other meanings, saying that intentional killing, why am I saying intentional killing? Second degree murder is when, for example, yes, you didn't have the intention, but your action was impulsive, and although you knew that it will harm someone, okay, you disregarded the result of your action and you still committed the act. I can spend the whole day with my learned colleague to talk about only that specific line. Okay, I used to do it for years, where we used to say, okay, but at the moment that, okay, you disregarded, okay, the fact that you might end up in prison, okay, but you still carried on with your action of harming another person, it means that at that specific moment where you disregarded and you decided to continue with the hurtful action, you then had still the intention to harm. So at a moment, the intention comes back. And if you say intention, while remaining on the second degree murder, you still, at this moment, you move to the first degree murder, because the first degree murder, although it is, we talk about intention, we also talk about premeditated, we also talk about planned. And I am from the school, okay, I don't know if, I am from the school which thinks that intention is not always when you sit somewhere and you start planning something for days. I am against the idea that intention is when you start, okay, for example, stalking someone for weeks and months before finally carry with your criminal action. I am against that idea that intention is when you plan for more than 1 minute. I do believe that intention is when, although you might be blinded by hurt, which at the moment makes you lose reasons, because even reason in law, you can fight for days, okay? It will be intentions against the reasons. That yes, when you are hurt and all these, reason has no place in that. But I do believe that something is intended when, after a specific length of time, in an hour, you had the time to think about what you were doing or about what you are doing. I will give you the example of Mr. Floyd. We know that chokehold, after 20 seconds, the subject or the victim is unconscious. When you keep going on from 20 minutes to 1 minute, to 2 minutes, to 3 minutes, to 4 minutes, to 5 minutes, to 6 minutes, to 7 minutes, and how can you call this an unintentional killing? How can you call this an unplanned killing? Since it is said that he was a well-trained officer, so it means that as a well-trained officer, he should know that after 20 seconds or maximum 30 seconds, someone is unconscious for good. You will tell me that, Mr. Floyd was still talking at the 8th minute. Do not forget that after 30 seconds, the blood goes to your head. So maybe at this point, the action that we were seeing on camera was no more about Mr. Floyd thinking rationally, because he was already losing it. How many times did he say, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, mama, I can't breathe, and then he died? So when people are nitpicking in such kind of horrendous nightmare to justify the action of a supposed trained officer, to explain that, oh no, this should be a 3rd degree or at worst a 2nd degree murder, are you kidding me? 2nd degree murder, okay, we know 2nd degree murder officially is unintentional but impulsive, but with the aim of harming. But then you have 1st degree murder, where it is intention, plan, and all. After 1 minute passing, it becomes intentional. After 5 minutes passing, it becomes planned. I'm not even talking about almost 9 minutes. So how come, let's use facts, okay? Let's put harm, pain, and all this aside. You want us to use the rules of law, okay? When we talk about rules of law, we also talk about reason. We talk about logic. We talk about being practical. If I was in the shoes of the Attorney General, I would say first degree murder charge. Because you might be, when they said he was excited delirium, who were they talking about? Chauvin? Because Mr. Floyd was not excited delirium. By saying that, oh, he was second degree murder, it means that no, Chauvin, yes, although he did not plan, he did not intend to kill, yes, he was well aware of his action and he knew that it would end in something. Actually, he knew that he would end in nothing because of the records that they could kill everywhere around the black community without any repercussion. So he was aware, he was well aware that he would come out of it free. Maybe the 70-year-old girl would be silenced. That's what he was aware of. But we live in an age of social media. Before you realize it, your life is already out there. And if not because of the protests that, arose after the watching of this video did not take place, those two officers will be like, oh, they have been fired to be relocated somewhere else where they will do the same thing. Guys, stop playing with the brains and the cells of people. Stop thinking that people are donkeys. I mean, we are talking, I'm not even talking about the third degree murder, because that one was an insult. It was just like, we know, the salt on the wound. Because second degree murder, of course, today they call it manslaughter, yes. But I wanted to say third degree murder, yes. Third degree murder, they call it, yes, manslaughter. It's almost like if I had to explain it to, a 10-year-old child, I would say that third degree murder is like accidental killing. You didn't mean it, but it happened. So it was not planned, it was not intentful, it was not intentional, it was not, but it happened. It's like, okay, I put the baby on the balcony and I was just, cleaning whatever, and the baby jump, I don't know, and died. Where is the reason and the logic in that? How many people will take a baby and put the baby, okay, on a balcony and just go about his or her errands or cleaning the house while the baby is without any without any protection, and is just there on the balcony? Is he a cat? Even the cat sometimes jump on the balcony. So what are we talking about here? I remember that I watched a case where a lady was sent to prison for 5 years because a Caucasian lady, she just spent 5 years, it's okay. Sorry, I might be sarcastic here, but I'm a little bit pissed with, I'm sorry for the lady. Let's say I'm sorry for maybe sounding ironic, regarding the case of this lady, because she lost 5 years of her life. She didn't ask for it. No one asked to spend senseless time in prison for something that sometimes you did not even do. So that lady was her friend, her best friend, I think, entrusted her with her young baby, and the baby had the convulsions, and the baby died, because of that. And the woman was sentenced to 5 years for mistreating the child. They did an autopsy. With the improvement of science, they discovered that no, actually the baby had clinical issues. So whatever I mean, whether the baby was in her custody or the custody of his own mom, the baby would have died. So she was freed after 5 years and compensated, which is not always the case for many black people, but it's okay. I mean, it's not okay, it's just an expression. Expressing my kind of disgust and tiresome. Or tiredness, anyway. So, like I said, the third degree charges on Chauvin the first time was an insult because it would have said that there was no premeditation, there was no intent, but the action that were that his the knee, the chokehold, the neck chokehold was a lethal action that could lead to death, but still it was not intentional to kill. And that's why I reject completely. You see, people had to go out in the streets, okay, for the third charges to be commuted to second charges, although the lawyer, I don't really know what, I don't even want to go back to look at it because some of what he said were so politically well put when he said that they changed the charges that I didn't really, I listened to his discourse with one ear because I could read in between the lines that he was politically pressured, okay? Whatever you will tell me. I don't know the man, I don't even want to know him. I just want to see where this thing will go. And if they have some sense of pride, even if they have to take those officers as an example for the rest, they should not be sentenced for less than 40 years. Because this will not resolve the case, okay? I'm sure that they will take them as an example, okay? Just to calm the black community. But we do not need that at the moment. We need everything to be, let's say, to be radical, to take a clear cut, between, okay, the right door and the rest. So, if I have misinterpreted legal, the legal stuff, how it should work in US, let me know. But I doubt. If you go back to listen to the discourse of that authority who came out to say that the charges were commuted to from third degree to second degree, I recommend you to go back and to listen. When it came to answering specific question, I knew that he will not answer that one. He passed it immediately to the county or the sheriff or whatever to answer this. His duty was to make a speech which will not demonize the Caucasian community and the Caucasian police department, and to come out of it without being like a sellout for the black community. So all in all, I would say that he managed very well. He politically swung between those things. That's okay. So I also, I'm coming to the end of my maybe rant. I have just learned that 3 days ago, the Louisville in Kentucky passed the Breonna Taylor's law banning the no-knock warrants, which should not have taken place. But it is just in Louisville that these no-knock warrants have been banned. I am still wondering why or what are the politics waiting for to vote that thing out? I mean, not to vote that thing out, but to vote for banning the no-knock warrant. Why does it take? I mean, I am just astonished. I hear a lot about. I hear a lot about this Moscow McConnell or McDowell. I just don't remember the name of the guy. Why does it give me the impression that all the powers in US are in his hand? Why do you need just one vote against to fight for, I mean, to reject a bill? I mean, I just wonder, do you really need the vote of that single person? Anyway, guys, please, I will invite you to comment. Thank you again for following me, for listening to this point. Thank you very much. I will be looking forward to reading for your suggestion, your comments. Let's talk about this, okay? Please, guys, march against the campaign rally in Tulsa. March against that. Not only that, call your local authorities. Ask them to reject that visit. It will take place in 3 to 4 days from now. Okay, in 4 days from now, because we're on the 15th of June, is my birthday. So I say 3 to 4 days because I don't know if I will upload the video now or tomorrow. But call your authorities. It should be a united action. It might sound disrespectful, but I'm tired of hearing people who could actually call their authorities speak, because you vote these people in place. They don't fall from the sky. They are being elected. Vote them out. If someone is not there to work in your interest, vote the person out. What is the point to keep someone who will not work in your interest? So guys, keep in mind, your president is out there to provoke you because he prays his master, whoever he is, for a massacre of Tulsa 2.0, for a race riot, for bringing an unwilling military in the street again. Please share these videos to whoever might be interested, and comment, please, subscribe, and give me a thumbs up. You are welcome to give me a thumbs down. We are here to talk, and not just to talk, but to take actions. I will also share on the description links the links of that I will recommend you to read, and also I will add some links which fight for equalities, and also some a link shared by Michelle Obama on whose officials you vote in your city or in your state. I will share that website because for me it's really informative. So why, like your president said once, what do you have to lose? Except your freedom and your lives. So, okay guys, I wish you a wonderful, stay safe, okay? Do not forget, your current administration is out there to suppress the voters. If you have to stay in line for 6 hours, okay, bring music, okay, put it in your ears, take an umbrella to protect you from the sunlight, okay, no problem with that. Okay, even if you have to carry with you one of those chairs, okay, that you can fold, okay, you put them, you sit. When it's your turn, they will just take you. I mean, you can sit there, speak to one another, listen to music, but stick, okay, in this queue. Be there until you vote, because from the beginning, nothing included black votes. From the moment the Bill of Rights were made in your country, nothing. I told you about the United Nations. It was not even involving black people. So please go out and vote. Vote for your mayor, vote for your senator, vote for your sheriff, vote for, your governor, vote for people who will be there to work in your own interests. Guys, if not, I will keep saying that a country has a government that it deserves. And I don't think that you actually, mostly for those who are being discriminated, I don't think that you are for that type of government. But the government that you have will always reflect around the world as a general consensus, which means that if the government is there, it's because you all wanted it. So thank you again and stay safe.